Imagine reality as a grand symphony, not a single note, but a sweeping orchestra of tones and rhythms. We often move through life hearing only the most obvious melody, the physical world of sights, sounds, and touch. Yet beneath that familiar tune lie other layers of music, quieter but just as real. Think of emotions as the gentle harmonies beneath the main score, thoughts as intricate countermelodies, and subtle energies as the barely audible overtones that give depth to every chord. These are not separate places. They are overlapping fields of experience, playing together in one vast composition. When people hear the word dimension, their minds may leap to science fiction, to far-off galaxies or hidden portals. But in this journey, a dimension is not a distant realm to travel to. It is a mode of perception, a particular way of noticing reality. Just as a song can be heard for its beat, or its lyrics, or the emotion it stirs, reality can be known through different senses of awareness. These modes exist all at once, like the layers of that symphony. We are not missing them. We are simply tuned to one part of the music more strongly than others. Picture an old-fashioned radio with a dial that slides through stations. The music is already there, filling the air whether or not we are listening. All we do is turn the knob until a certain frequency becomes clear. Multidimensional awareness is much the same. The station's physical sensation, emotional resonance, mental clarity, and subtle energy are already broadcasting. To experience them, we don't need to create anything new. We simply shift our inner dial until what was once faint becomes audible. Consider a quiet evening in a small mountain town, where the air smells of pine and the world seems to hold its breath. A traveler, weary from a long day, sits alone on a porch. As the sky deepens into indigo, she feels something of an almost musical presence humming behind the silence. It isn't a sound in the usual sense. It is more like the soft vibration of a tuning fork that no one has struck. She cannot explain it, yet it feels undeniably real, as though the night itself is singing. In that moment, her thoughts slow, her heart steadies, and she senses a harmony beyond the edges of her normal awareness. This kind of moment is not rare, though we often rush past it. Perhaps you have felt it standing beside the ocean, watching moonlight ripple across the waves, or in the stillness of early morning before the world wakes. Something inside you recognizes an unseen rhythm, and for a breath, you feel part of something vast and tender. These glimpses are invitations. They whisper that reality is more layered than our busy minds typically notice. To embrace multidimensional awareness, you don't have to master complicated practices or adopt new beliefs. Begin instead with noticing. When you pause, you might catch the texture of your own breathing, the subtle warmth behind your heartbeat, the quiet space between thoughts. These simple observations are like moving the radio dial a fraction to the left or right. Each shift opens a slightly different layer of the inner symphony. Some might wonder if this is imagination, a trick of the senses. Yet, consider how often we accept invisible forces as part of everyday life. We trust the pull of gravity, though we cannot see it. We rely on wireless signals to carry our words across oceans. The absence of visible proof does not diminish their reality. In the same way, the layers of awareness are no less real for being subtle. They wait patiently for the moment we are willing to listen. As you explore these layers, notice how your body responds. Perhaps your shoulders soften or your breath deepens without effort. This is not an escape from the physical world. It is a fuller participation in it. By tuning into emotional and mental dimensions, you may find that ordinary experiences gain unexpected richness. A simple walk can feel like a conversation with the wind. A quiet room can reveal a chorus of inner clarity. Nothing outside has changed. It is your perception that has widened. This widening is both gentle and powerful. Gentle because it does not demand that you abandon the life you know. Powerful because a single shift in perspective can illuminate connections that once seemed hidden. The traveler on the mountain porch did not set out to hear the night's music. She simply paused long enough for the harmony to reveal itself. Likewise, the awareness you seek is not far away. It is already here, woven through every breath, waiting for the subtle turn of your attention. What might happen if you adjust your own inner dial even slightly? What new harmonies might you hear in the spaces between thoughts? Multidimensional awareness is not a distant goal. It is the recognition that reality is a layered song, and you are already part of the orchestra. All that remains is to truly listen and let the music of existence rise to meet you. When scientists first shone light through two narrow openings, they expected a tidy pattern of bright lines, like two stripes of illumination on a wall. Instead, something astonishing appeared, a series of rippling bands, like waves overlapping on the surface of a pond. The experimenters had stumbled upon a mystery. When no one looked closely, tiny particles of light photons behaved like waves, spreading and mingling as though each particle explored every possible path at once. Then the scientists tried something simple. They placed a detector near the slits, intending only to watch which opening each particle chose. In that instant, the pattern shifted. The elegant rippling vanished, replaced by two crisp lines. The very act of observation turned waves into particles, as if the universe itself responded to a watchful gaze. This discovery, called the double-slit experiment, is more than a laboratory curiosity. It whispers of a universe that does not stand fixed and cold, but waits, in some hidden way, for attention. When unobserved, possibilities flow like water fluid, overlapping, uncommitted. Yet the moment awareness enters, reality crystallizes into a single outcome. Science calls this the observer effect, a phrase both clinical and quietly revolutionary. Consider what this means for our daily lives. Each morning, we awaken to countless possibilities of conversations we might have, choices we might make, feelings that might rise or fade. Before we notice them, they swirl like quantum waves, mere potentials. But the instant we focus on one idea, one memory, one hope, something remarkable happens. That chosen possibility takes shape. Our attention is not passive. It is creative. You have felt this, perhaps, without naming it. Think of a time you decided to buy a particular car or dreamed of traveling to a distant city. Suddenly, you noticed that very car at every intersection, or that city's name in unexpected places. The world seemed to echo your thoughts. It is not that the car or the city suddenly multiplied. It is that your attention gathered scattered signals and revealed what was already there. Like turning a lens to bring hidden stars into focus. Ancient sages spoke of this long before physicists captured it in equations. In the quiet halls of Indian philosophy, the Upanishads whispered of a universe woven from consciousness, where the seer and the seen are one. Taoist mystics describe the world as a great unfolding that responds to the clarity of human awareness. Even the desert. Prophets of the West hinted that faith in the steady gaze of the heart could move mountains. They lacked the language of photons and wave functions. Yet their intuition was strikingly familiar. That reality bends toward the focus of mind and spirit. Modern physics does not claim that thoughts alone make mountains rise or oceans part. Yet it reveals something humbling. Observation is not separate from the fabric of existence. When a scientist measures a particle, the universe acknowledges the question and answers. When you place your attention on a dream, you, too, send a quiet signal. Perhaps this is why intention, prayer, and meditation have felt powerful across cultures and centuries. They are ways of observing the unseen until it takes form. Pause for a moment and imagine the room around you. Air particles dance in patterns you cannot see. Sound waves ripple through space, whether you notice them or not. Now imagine your own thoughts as subtle waves, possibilities awaiting the focus of your inner eye. What realities might settle into being when you choose to look closely? What potentials might fade if you never glance their way? This is not a call to strain or force outcomes. The observer effect is gentle. It reminds us that awareness itself is an active ingredient in the recipe of life. Like sunlight coaxing seeds to sprout, your steady attention nourishes the future you most desire. The key is not control, but presence, a calm, noticing that invites possibility to become experience. And so we arrive at a quiet crossroads where science and spirituality meet. The double-slit experiment gives us a modern parable. Particles that wait to decide until they are seen. The sages give us an ancient echo, consciousness that shapes the world it beholds. Two voices separated by millennia harmonize in a single truth that the simple act of observing is never simple at all, across centuries and continents. A quiet thread of understanding has been carried like a secret lantern through the corridors of time. Ancient sages spoke in poems and parables, not because they lacked precision, but because the deepest truths live beyond the net of ordinary language. They knew that consciousness itself is not merely something that happens inside the world. It is the very field in which the world appears. Consider the sages of Vedanta, who described reality as a vast, unbroken ocean of being. In their view, every form, every tree, star, and human thought is like a single wave rising from that boundless sea. A wave may appear separate for a moment, curling and shimmering under the sunlight, yet it never leaves the ocean. Your own awareness is like that ocean. Thoughts, sensations, and perceptions are waves. They rise, dance, and dissolve. But the ocean beneath them never ceases. The Taoist masters of ancient China whispered a similar saying. They called it the Tao, the way that cannot be fully spoken, like a stream moving effortlessly through mountain valleys. The Tao is the source and flow of all that is. Laozi taught that those who grasp for it too tightly will find only water slipping through their fingers. But those who sit quietly and watch the stream will realize they are not separate from it. The watcher and the flow are one. This theme of oneness is not a relic of any single culture. In the Upanishads of India, the sages declared, Tati Vem, as you are that. This simple statement does not merely inspire, it reveals. The consciousness that witnesses the sunrise and the consciousness that lights the stars are the same. Just as a dreamer breathes life into a dream, so does the infinite mind breathe life into the waking world. Imagine yourself within a dream. Mountains rise, rivers shimmer, friends speak and laugh. Inside the dream, it all feels real. Yet when you awaken, you realize the dreamer and the dreamed were never two. Likewise, the mystics suggest that waking life is a kind of dream, one in which the dreamer and the scenery are expressions of a single, luminous mind. Modern science peers into quantum fields and subatomic mysteries, finding that the observer and the observed are bound in a delicate dance. Long before electrons and wave functions were named, the sages spoke of the same mystery. They told stories to guide the heart beyond mere intellect. A Zen master might hold up a flower and simply smile, allowing silence to speak the truth no words can capture. Think of thought itself as a bridge between unseen and seen. Just as a ripple travels from the depths of the ocean to the surface, a single thought rises from the formless and paints itself across the canvas of reality. When sages speak of mind, they do not mean the chatter of daily worries, mean the limitless awareness in which those worries flicker like sparks in the night. Parables from many lands echo this insight. In one, a student asks a master where the divine resides. Q. The master points not to the sky, but to the heart. In another, a wanderer seeks the truth across deserts and mountains, only to find it waiting in the stillness of his own breath. Each story invites you to turn inward and discover that the witness of all experience is itself the source of experience. This understanding does not demand belief. It invites direct recognition. Pause for a moment and notice the simple fact that you are aware. Before thoughts of past or future arise, there is just the silent presence of knowing. That presence is not owned by the body or bound by time. It is the same spaciousness that sages and scientists, in their own languages, keep pointing toward. Ancient wisdom and modern science meet like two rivers joining a single sea. One uses metaphor, the other measurement, yet both approach the same shimmering horizon. Reality is inseparable from the consciousness that perceives it. When you listen closely, you may sense that these voices, Vedantic seers, Taoist poets, Zen masters, are all whispering the same timeless message. What they whisper is simple, yet it carries the power to change how you experience every breath. The self you think you are is the very source from which the universe springs. You are not merely in the world. The world appears within you. Close your eyes and let a slow breath glide in. A gentle wave, rising and falling in its own quiet rhythm. Notice how the air meets you without demand. How each inhale and exhale arrives as if it has always known its place. You do not need to control it. You are simply here, witnessing the tide of breath as it moves through you. Listen to the faint music of this moment, the soft hum of distant sounds, the subtle creak of a room settling, the quiet pulse beneath. your own skin. These sensations appear and dissolve like ripples on a still pond. They are passing visitors, and you, the one who notices them, remain. Imagine a vast sky of awareness, so open and clear that every thought and sound drifts across it without leaving a trace. Thoughts arise like clouds, brief and ever-changing. Yet the sky itself never shifts. You are that sky, the witness, the silent presence that sees but is never caught. Notice how time softens when you rest in this presence. The last breath is already a memory. The next has not yet come. Yet here you are, awake to the only moment that truly exists, the one unfolding now. This witness is not trapped in hours or minutes. It simply is untouched by the clock's insistence. Feel how space itself seems to widen. Your body rests in the room, yet the awareness that observes has no walls. It is not confined to skin or bone. It expands effortlessly, a quiet field without edges. Whether you sense it as vastness, as light, or as the soft intimacy of simply knowing, it is here, unbound and free. Consider how every dimension of your life, every memory, every hope, every dream arises inside this same witnessing presence. It has been with you through every season of change, silently holding each experience without judgment. The child you once were, the person you are now, even the future self you imagine, all have appeared like passing scenes on the screen of awareness. Yet the screen itself has never aged as you breathe. Notice that the witness does not struggle to be present. It does not try to capture moments. It simply receives. The sound of your heartbeat, the whisper of air through your nose, the faint glow behind your eyelids, all are effortlessly known. You do not need to name them. You only need to notice. Perhaps you begin to sense that this silent observer is closer than close. It is not something you reach for. It is what you already are. Even the thought I am observing is noticed by it. It is the gentle backdrop to every experience, like the steel surface beneath a moving river. Imagine now that the usual boundaries of time and space dissolve further. The witness is as present in the memory of a distant star as it is in the sound of your breath. Past and future ripple like reflections on water, while awareness remains untouched. In this stillness, the idea of distance itself begins to blur. Here, perception is multidimensional, yet utterly simple. This presence is not distant or rare. It has never been hidden. It waits only for your quiet recognition, like a familiar friend sitting beside you in the dark. The more gently you notice, the more it reveals its vastness. And in its vastness, a deep peace begins to unfold, a peace that needs no proof, no reason. Stay here for a few breaths, resting in this spacious awareness that cannot be contained. Let each inhalation be a soft return to this infinite witness. Let each exhalation release any effort. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be added. The witness is already whole. Now sense a subtle stirring, like the hush before dawn. It is the quiet invitation of a single thought, one simple idea that can open the witness fully. That you have never been separate from this presence. The thought itself is not the witness, but it points like a gentle finger to the truth already shining. And as you notice this, you may feel the space of awareness expand even more, revealing that you were never merely watching. You have always been the vastness itself. Imagine for a moment that the most life-changing insight you will ever encounter is not hidden in a library of ancient scrolls or buried beneath layers of mystical jargon. It is waiting quietly in a single ordinary thought. Sometimes we spend years searching for elaborate answers, assuming that spiritual awakening must be locked behind a riddle only the wise can solve. Yet, again and again, those who stumble upon genuine clarity discover something far more disarmingly simple. Think of the way a single word can change the entire meaning of a sentence. A simple shift from I must to I may, from I can't to I could, can soften what once felt like a heavy chain into a door gently opening. Language is not merely a tool for communication. It is the paintbrush of our inner world. Every phrase you repeat, every quiet thought that rolls through your mind, shapes the scenery of your consciousness like a river carving the earth. Consider a traveler who once stood at the edge of a vast desert, unsure whether to continue or turned back. The night sky stretched above, scattered with 1,000 silver lanterns. She had walked for days in silence when a single sentence whispered from memory arose in her mind. I am already home. Those 4 words were not an instruction or a command. They were a soft breeze across the heart. In that instant, the horizon she had feared became a mirror of the peace already within her. The journey continued, but the struggle dissolved. Perhaps you have felt it to a moment when a phrase catches you off guard, like a melody you didn't know you were waiting for. A teacher once told me of a man who wrestled with restlessness for decades. Then, in the middle of a quiet conversation, he heard a friend say, "Nothing is missing." That was all. No sermon, no ritual, just those 3 words. Something inside him unlocked, like the turning of a key in a door he hadn't even noticed. These moments are not accidents. They arrive when the mind is softened by curiosity and the heart is ready to listen. If you are waiting for a grand revelation, notice how often life hides the extraordinary in the plain. The subtle power of language works not because of the sound of the words, but because of the space they open inside you. So, as you listen now, let your own thoughts become lighter. Let the usual insistence on understanding fade into the background. Pretend, just for these few minutes, that you are standing at the edge of a great unseen landscape. You do not need a map. You only need to notice the next breath and the small, glimmering invitation that lives inside it. Imagine that each word you hear is a ripple across a still pond. You do not chase the ripple. You simply watch it travel, feeling the quiet expansion in your chest. In that space, subtle shifts happen almost on their own. A question softens. A tension you did not name releases. This is why the most transformative experiences often appear playful rather than heavy. They are not earned by force or long recitations. They arrive like a wink from the universe. The key is not to strain, but to remain open like a child listening for the next note in a lullaby. Notice how even now your mind is leaning forward, wondering what the pivotal thought might be. That wondering is not a distraction. It is the very doorway we are approaching. Curiosity itself prepares the ground. When you are curious, you are neither clinging to the past nor rushing toward the future. You are alert, receptive, quietly alive. Perhaps you sense it already, a gentle anticipation, like the hush before dawn. That is the signal that your inner landscape is ready. When the moment comes, the thought you receive will not be complicated. It will not demand effort. Will be simple, so simple, in fact, that part of you may smile at its elegance. For now, let that smile be enough. Breathe in the possibility that the universe has always been whispering the same quiet truth, waiting for the instant when you are still enough to hear it. The words themselves may be few, but the opening they create can feel like a door swinging wide on silent hinges. Close your eyes for a moment and let everything you know about yourself soften. The name you answer to, the story you carry, even the silent judgments that pass through your mind. Imagine each of them loosening like threads in a gentle breeze. Beneath them all, there is something that never wavers, something untouched by time or change. It is the quiet space where every thought, every feeling, every sensation arrives and eventually fades. And in that still, steady space, a single thought emerges, simple yet cast. I am the awareness in which all experiences arise. At first, these words might feel like a puzzle. You may instinctively wonder if I am aware, then what is this body? What is this mind that thinks and dreams? Let those questions hang like stars in the night sky. Awareness is not another object you can point to. It is not your heartbeat or the flicker of a passing idea. It is the open field in which heartbeat and thought appear, dance for a time, and dissolve. It is the silent witness that notices both joy and sorrow without being swept away by either. Consider how you normally define yourself. Perhaps you say, I am my memories, I am my plans, I am my successes and my mistakes. But notice how each of those is something you can observe. Memories rise like waves and recede. Plans flash and fade. Even the sense of I, that quiet voice that says this is me, is something you can watch. If you can notice it, it cannot be the deepest you. Awareness is the one who sees, not the things seen. Feel into that difference. Imagine a clear sky stretching across infinity. Clouds of thought and emotion drift through it. Excitement, doubt, laughter, fear. The sky does not chase them, nor resist them. It holds them all, unchanged. You are that sky. Your experiences are the clouds. They may be brilliant or dark, brief or lingering, but none of them can stain the vastness that you are. There is a subtle power in realizing this. When you know yourself as awareness, life's turbulence no longer defines you. Pain and pleasure still visit, but they no longer claim ownership of your being. The world continues to move, yet something within you remains still, like a mountain watching the wind. This stillness is not cold or distant. It is alive with a quiet presence. It is the gentle ground of your existence. Pause for a breath and notice what is here now. Sounds, sensations, perhaps the rhythm of your own breathing. Each appears inside the space of awareness. Even the thought I am listening to is another ripple within it. You, the true you, are not the ripple, but the boundless water in which ripples form. This recognition carries a quiet liberation. When you stop clinging to every passing story, the heaviness of identity softens. The past loses its chains. The future, its anxious grip. You become free to meet each moment without armor, because nothing fleeting can define what you are. Awareness is already whole, needing nothing to complete it. And yet, this is not a withdrawal from life. To know yourself as awareness is to meet the world more intimately, not less. Without the weight of constant self-definition, you can listen more deeply, love more freely, and act with a natural ease. You might wonder how to carry this realization beyond a single quiet moment. The answer is not another task or technique. It is a gentle reminder. As you walk, as you speak, as you work or rest, occasionally pause and notice. All of this is unfolding within the open field of awareness. The sound of footsteps, the warmth of sunlight, even the subtle feeling of being someone moving through the day, each is another passing cloud. You remain in the vast sky. Some days you may forget, and that is natural. Awareness never forgets itself. It is present whether you notice or not. Every return to this knowing is like slipping back into the most familiar home, the one that was never truly left. Let this single thought settle into you like a seed. I am the awareness in which all experiences arise. Allow it to resonate without forcing understanding. With time, it will reveal its depth on its own. It is not a belief to hold, but a reality to be lived. A silent recognition that you are more than any story, more than any passing moment. And as you move from this reflection into the rhythm of your life, carry this quiet knowing forward. The journey is not away from the world, but into the fullness of being where awareness and life are never separate, and where you, the sky of consciousness, remain forever whole, embodying multidimensional awareness in daily life. Imagine for a moment that every thought passing through your mind is like a soft cloud drifting across a boundless sky. You do not need to chase the clouds or hold them still. You simply notice their shapes and colors as they glide by. This is the beginning of living with multidimensional awareness, an experience that invites you to rest as the vast sky of consciousness rather than the fleeting clouds of mental chatter as you move through your day. This perspective transforms even the simplest acts. Washing the dishes ceases to be a mundane chore. Instead, each motion of the warm water on your skin, the subtle clink of a plate against the sink, becomes a gentle reminder that awareness is already present, quietly witnessing. The task itself doesn't change, but your relationship to it does. You are no longer lost in automatic thoughts. You are awake to the shimmering aliveness that runs through every ordinary moment. Begin with a practice of observing your thoughts. Whenever you remember, pause. Notice the next thought that arises and watch it without grasping. Perhaps it is an image of the past or a plan for tomorrow. See how it arrives, unbidden, and dissolves on its own. By witnessing thoughts in this way, you loosen the belief that you are defined by them. You discover that awareness of the space in which all thoughts come and go is your truest presence. This shift is subtle, yet profound. Over time, it spills into movement. As you walk, whether through a quiet park or a bustling street, allow your senses to open fully. Feel the texture of the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of your breath, the way sunlight or evening shadows dance across surfaces. Walking becomes more than transportation. It is an unfolding meditation, a living conversation between the inner and outer worlds. When you speak and listen from this state of presence, a new quality emerges. Words carry the resonance of stillness. You may notice a gentle patience in your own voice, a softness that invites others to relax. Listening deepens too. Instead of waiting for your turn to reply, you hear not just the words, but the silent space between them, the unspoken feelings beneath. Communication becomes a shared field of awareness, a subtle meeting of hearts. Commuting, often seen as tedious, becomes another portal. Whether you're on a train, driving, or walking a familiar route, treat each sound and sensation as part of a vast symphony. The hum of engines, the breeze against your face, the shifting play of light, all of it is awareness playing with form. Even the traffic lights, with their patient cycle of red, amber, and green, can be received as invitations to pause and return to presence. These practices are not about escaping life. They are about entering it more fully. The more you rest as awareness itself, the more you notice subtle shifts in perception. Time may feel less rigid. Colors might appear more vivid. A quiet joy begins to hum beneath ordinary experiences, as though the world is revealing hidden dimensions of itself. These are gentle signs that your journey into multidimensional living is deepening. Day by day, moment by moment, science quietly echoes what mystics have long intuited. Neuroscientists speak of neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to rewire itself in response to new habits of attention. Each time you choose to observe a thought rather than be swept away by it, you are literally reshaping neural pathways. You are training your mind to dwell more naturally in the spaciousness of awareness. Over time, these subtle acts of noticing strengthen the very circuit that support calm, clarity, and expanded perception. Energy researchers, too, explore how our bodies and the spaces around us form intricate fields of subtle vibration. While science is only beginning to map these fields, many traditions have long described them as layers of light or currents of life force. When you practice presence, whether by mindful walking, conscious listening, or observing thoughts, you attune to these subtle energies. You begin to sense an interconnected field where your inner state and the world's unfolding dance together as one. Multidimensional awareness is not a distant goal, but an ever-unfolding practice. It asks for no dramatic effort, only a willingness to notice the vastness that has always been here. With each dish washed, Each step taken, each breath received, you are quietly shaping both your brain and your energy field. You are participating in a living experiment where science and spirit meet, and where every ordinary moment can open into the extraordinary depth of who you truly are. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a single note ringing out across a quiet hall. At first, it seems small, just one vibration trembling in space. As the sound lingers, other strings begin to hum in sympathy, each one gently pulled into resonance. This is what happens inside you when you pause to notice awareness itself. That single act of recognition, as simple as acknowledging "I am aware," sends a signal through the vast symphony of your mind and body. Modern neuroscience shows that when you bring gentle attention to your own awareness, the networks of the brain that govern presence begin to brighten like constellations. Circuits in the prefrontal cortex, the region that helps you witness thoughts without being swept away, become more stable. The brain's default mode, which often wanders into worries or regrets, starts to soften. You are literally strengthening the pathways of presence, building the architecture of calm with every mindful glance at the simple fact of being. This shift does more than quiet mental chatter. Your heartbeat begins to synchronize with the rhythms of your brain, a state scientists call heart-brain coherence. Imagine two dancers gradually finding the same tempo until every step lands in perfect time. When you rest in awareness, the body follows the mind's lead, and a subtle harmony unfolds between breath, pulse, and thought. Stress hormones ease their grip. Your nervous system recognizes that it is safe. Think of it as tuning a grand instrument. Each breath is like a bow across a violin string, each heartbeat a gentle percussion. One clear note, the awareness of awareness, brings the entire orchestra into tune. A single recognition sends ripples through every system, reminding them of their original melody. This is not metaphor alone. It is the biology of resonance. Your cells are listening, and they respond, yet something even more mysterious stirs beneath the science. Many traditions speak of an energetic body, a field of subtle currents that interlace with the physical form. When you simply notice that you are aware, it is as if a hidden circuit awakens. Energy that once scattered through restless thought begins to glow. Some describe it as a gentle warmth rising along the spine, others as a luminous stillness that seems to shine from everywhere at once. You need not believe in anything supernatural to feel it. The experience itself whispers of dimensions we rarely name. Here, curiosity begins to bloom. Could it be that reality itself responds to the quiet act of recognition? Quantum physics tells us that the observer and the observed are not entirely separate. When you rest as the observer, when awareness knows itself, might you be touching the very fabric from which matter and mind arise. The question is not one of proof, but of wonder. A wonder that invites you deeper without demanding conclusions. As awareness stabilizes, life outside begins to reflect the inner shift. Conversations soften, decisions carry less strain. You notice synchronicities when events seem to line up with the rhythm of your own calm attention. These are not coincidences to be solved, but invitations to stay awake to the quiet dialogue between inner and outer worlds. And imagine, for a moment, that this recognition spreads beyond you. Picture thousands, even millions, of people pausing to sense the simple fact of being. Each mind a tuning fork, each heart a resonant chamber. Like an orchestra finding its collective pitch. The shared field of human consciousness could begin to vibrate with coherence. The ripple would not be a loud proclamation, but a subtle reordering, a gentle rearrangement of the atmosphere we all share. Such collective awakening need not arrive as a grand event. It begins with one person noticing, then another, until the recognition becomes as natural as breathing. The single note you strike within your own awareness carries the potential to influence the entire symphony of humanity. When many voices attune to that same note, a hidden architecture of connection reveals itself, an architecture not built by hands, but discovered in the silent recognition that we are, and that this being is shared. This is the quiet power of a single thought, the thought that notices itself. It reshapes the brain, steadies the heart, gathers the subtle energy of the body, and hints at a universe alive with resonance. And as more of us awaken to this simple awareness, the harmony we create may extend far beyond what our minds can measure, like a song whose echoes belong to everyone, and to something greater still. Imagine a quiet wave beginning in the heart of a single person. It starts as a subtle shift, a soft recognition that the world is more than the rush of days and the noise of headlines. This awareness feels like a gentle light flickering to life. And though it may seem small, it carries a force far greater than its size. Every time one mind awakens to the deeper connection that binds us all, that flicker becomes part of something larger, something that reaches far beyond the self. Throughout history, sages and visionaries have whispered of this hidden thread, a collective consciousness that lives beneath the surface of our individual lives. Ancient prophecies spoke of a time when many hearts would open at once, when the human family would remember its shared essence. From the mystics of the East to the seers of indigenous traditions, the message echoes across centuries. When one awakens, all are invited to awaken. Modern thinkers and scientists, too, have begun to wonder whether consciousness itself might be more than a private experience, whether it might weave through all of us like an invisible network of light. Picture the subtle effect when a single drop of dye touches clear water. Its color swirls and expands, transforming the whole without force or command. In much the same way, every act of personal realization ripples outward. A single person's choice to live with compassion inspires another to soften. One mind daring to imagine a more peaceful world encourages others to dream alongside it. These quiet shifts rarely make headlines, yet they are the quiet architecture of human evolution. Empathy blooms from these ripples. When you pause long enough to recognize that another's pain mirrors your own, something in you changes. That recognition doesn't stay contained. It moves like a current into your conversations, your decisions, the way you greet a stranger. Creativity, too, awakens. When the mind is no longer locked in fear or separation, it becomes a fertile field for ideas that nourish the whole. Art, music, invention, each carries a vibration that invites others into the same expansive awareness. Modern movements for global consciousness reflect this ancient call in new language. From gatherings that meditate for world peace to communities, exploring the science of collective intention. There is a growing sense that our thoughts and feelings shape more than our personal lives. Experiments with group meditation, for example, suggest that focused intention can influence measurable patterns, from reduced crime rates to calmer social tensions. Whether one accepts these studies as proof or as poetry, they spark a deeper question. What happens when many minds focus on harmony at once? Imagine a planet where thousands, then millions, hold the thought of compassion in the same breath. Envisioned hearts across every time zone, silently aligned, each one adding a note to an unseen symphony. The transformation may not arrive as a sudden miracle, but as a slow, undeniable shift. Violence feels heavier and harder to sustain. Kindness spreads more easily. Ideas once considered radical fairness, stewardship of the earth, respect for all beings begin to feel like common sense. A new culture quietly takes root, nourished by the shared knowing that we are, in truth, one. This vision does not belong to the distant future. It begins the moment you notice your own thoughts shaping the space around you. The simple act of choosing peace in your heart sends a subtle signal, like a tuning fork, inviting others to resonate. Your smile, your patience, the way you listen are not small gestures. They are threads in the grand tapestry of collective awakening. The ancient prophecies spoke of an age when humanity would remember itself as a single, living organism. Some called it the return of a golden era. Others, the dawn of a higher vibration. Today, you can see glimpses of it in global movements for environmental care, in the surge of people exploring meditation and mindfulness, and in the quiet, personal revolutions happening behind closed doors. Each awakening is a spark, and together, these sparks illuminate the path ahead. As you sense this larger movement, notice how it calls you inward. The shift begins not in distant leaders or grand institutions, but in the simple awareness of your own presence. By tending to your own consciousness, by observing your thoughts, nurturing your heart, and embracing your creative spirit, you contribute to humanity's evolution. It is not about perfection. It is about participation. So, let this understanding settle gently. Each breath of kindness, each act of curiosity, each quiet decision to love rather than fear sends ripples into the great ocean of human consciousness. The world changes not through force, but through the silent, unstoppable expansion of awakened hearts. And as these ripples spread, notice where they lead you. They carry you naturally toward the power of personal manifestation. The recognition that your inner world shapes your outer reality. From the collective awakening of humanity, we pivot gently now to the empowerment of the individual, where your own conscious choices become the seeds of the life you wish to create. Recognizing pure awareness for effortless manifestation. When we pause long enough to notice the quiet space behind our thoughts, something extraordinary begins to reveal itself. This space is not bound by your name, your past, or even the stories you tell yourself. It is the silent witness of pure awareness, unchanged by the swirl of emotions or the shifting scenery of life. To recognize it is to touch a deeper dimension of being, one that quietly holds the power to shape the world you experience. Most of us are taught that to manifest something, we must strain, plan, or visualize with relentless intensity. Yet, when our sense of self is rooted in pure awareness, manifestation takes on a very different character. Desires no longer feel like a checklist of wants. They emerge as gentle signals from a deeper intelligence. These impulses do not arise from restless craving, but from a quiet knowing, like the subtle turning of a flower toward the sun without effort or strategy. Imagine a river that flows effortlessly toward the ocean. The current does not ask whether it is worthy of reaching the sea. It simply moves because that is its nature. In the same way, when you rest in awareness, the desires that rise within you carry the momentum of something larger than personal will. They are not random wishes, but reflections of the universe seeking expression through you. Your role is no longer to push the water, but to feel the current and allow it to carry you. This shift in identity from the restless mind to pure awareness changes the quality of your desires. What once felt like a struggle to attract external things transforms into a dance of resonance. Opportunities seem to find you without force. People appear at the right moment. Doors open without knocking. It is not coincidence, but the natural outcome of living from a level of consciousness that is already in harmony with what you seek. Consider how the observer effect in quantum physics describes particles changing when watched. Awareness itself has a similar potency. When you witness your own thoughts and desires without clinging to them, you infuse them with a subtle power. This observing presence does not grasp or control. It simply illuminates, and like light guiding a seedling toward growth, it nourishes the unfolding of your reality from this place. Manifestation ceases to be about bending life to match your plans. Instead, it becomes an effortless unfolding, where the universe seems to whisper directions through intuition and synchronicity. This is not a mystical exaggeration, but a reflection of how deeply connected you are to the field of life. Your awareness is not a passive backdrop. It is the very stage on which creation plays. As you grow more intimate with this pure awareness, notice how fear and urgency soften. You no longer chase outcomes with a tightened heart. You recognize that the intelligence that animates stars and seasons is also the source of your desires. Trusting this intelligence allows you to relax the grip of control, to move in rhythm with something infinitely wiser. Even in moments of uncertainty, you will sense that reality is far more fluid than it once appeared. What you once believed to be fixed, your circumstances, your limitations, even time itself, feels more like a canvas than a cage. From this perspective, every thought, every intention is a brushstroke in an ever-evolving masterpiece. You are both the artist and the art, and awareness is the luminous space in which both arise. Let this understanding settle not as an idea, but as a lived experience. Feel the quiet presence behind your breath, the stillness that remains even as thoughts ripple across the mind. From here, the act of manifesting becomes less about asking and more about allowing. Less about striving and more about listening as you carry this recognition forward. Consider how you might nurture it each day. Simple rituals, moments of silence before sunrise, a mindful breath between tasks, a brief pause to observe the sky can keep this living awareness vibrant. These small gestures are not about adding more to your schedule. They are about remembering the boundless space that is always here in this quiet remembering. Desires will continue to arise, yet they will feel different, clearer, lighter, aligned. And as you honor them from the vantage of pure awareness, life itself begins to bloom around you, a natural flowering of your deepest intelligence. From here, the path of manifestation is no longer a path of effort, but a gentle unfolding of what you were always meant to experience as night softly gathers around you. Imagine the sky turning a deep indigo, the edges of the day dissolving into a gentle hush. In this quiet space, your mind begins to loosen its grip on the noise of the world. Here, in the calm of evening, you are invited to step into a simple rhythm, a rhythm that carries you effortlessly toward multidimensional awareness. Begin with the breath. Let it flow like a slow tide, moving in and out without effort. Inhale until you feel your ribs gently expand. Then exhale until you sense the weight of the day slipping away. There is no rush, no goal, only the steady rise and fall, like the ocean at dusk. As you breathe, notice how each inhale brightens the inner landscape, and each exhale softens the edges of thought. This is not just breathing, it is the opening of a door. The more you surrender to this natural tide, the more you sense a subtle presence that is both within you and far beyond. When your breath has settled into a tranquil cadence, reach for your journal. By candlelight or the soft glow of a bedside lamp, let the page receive what lingers in your heart. Write not for perfection, but for release. Perhaps you list 3 simple gratitudes: a friend's kind word, the way moonlight spilled across your floor, the quiet strength you found in a challenging moment. As ink meets paper, notice how gratitude reshapes the story of your day. Each word is a gentle thread, weaving your experiences into something luminous. Over time, this nightly practice begins to retrain the mind, guiding it to recognize blessings even before they appear. Gratitude becomes less an act and more a natural way of seeing. After your words have found their home, close the journal and let the silence expand. This is mindful silence, not empty, but alive. Sit comfortably and notice the space between sounds. The soft hum of a distant street, the whisper of your own breathing, the heartbeat that echoes through your chest. Within this stillness, thoughts may drift like clouds. Let them pass. Beneath their movement, you may feel a quiet awareness of something that notices everything, yet remains untouched. This is the one thought made real, the knowing that behind every flicker of mind, there is an unchanging witness. Allow yourself to rest as that witness, even if only for a few breaths. These gentle rituals, breathwork, gratitude, journaling, and mindful silence are not steps on a checklist. Night after night, they slowly shape the soil of your consciousness, softening what was once rigid, nurturing what longs to grow. As you practice, a subtle shift begins. You notice it when you wake, when the morning light first brushes your eyelids. The world feels a shade more vivid, as if each color carries a secret brightness, as if life itself is leaning closer to whisper. Morning offers its own simple rituals. Before you reach for your phone or step into the day's momentum, take up single, spacious breath. Feel the freshness of dawn fill your lungs, the quiet promise of new beginnings. Let that breath be a silent blessing over the hours ahead. If you can, place your feet on the floor and pause before standing. Notice the sensation of contact, the meeting of body and earth. This small moment, too easily missed, roots you in the present and awakens the same witness that greeted you in the night. Perhaps you continue your journaling in the soft light of morning, but now it shifts from gratitude for what has been to intention for what will be. A single sentence is enough. Today, I move with ease, or I welcome unexpected guidance. These intentions are not demands. They are quiet openings, like windows left a breeze. As you write, feel how the intention arises from the same awareness you touched in silence. It is the one thought gently unfolding into action with each evening and morning. The practices begin to overlap like tides meeting at the shore. Breath becomes a bridge between night and day. Gratitude deepens from list to lifestyle. Silence evolves from a pause into a presence that accompanies you everywhere. What began as a ritual soon becomes the very atmosphere of your life. You may notice creativity stirring in unexpected places, an idea that arrives fully formed, a sudden clarity in a decision you once found confusing, a feeling that something wiser is quietly guiding you. These moments are not accidents. They are the natural outpouring of sustained awareness. Over weeks and months, the one thought moves from concept to lived reality. You no longer chase it. You simply dwell in it. The boundary between practice and life softens until every breath, every glance, every step becomes part of the meditation. Evening and morning cease to be mere times of day. They become portal thresholds where the infinite brushes against the ordinary, where a multidimensional awareness is not a distant goal, but the very texture of your being. And so, as you close the day and greet the dawn, remember, these rituals are not about achieving perfection. They are gentle companions, steady and patient, guiding you toward a quiet transformation that unfolds almost unnoticed. In their simplicity lies their power. Through them, you discover that awareness is not something to attain, but something you have always been. And with that recognition, the path ahead begins to glow, not with urgency, but with the calm, luminous promise of a life awakened. There is a certain stillness that lives beyond the surface of ordinary life, a quiet presence that doesn't shout for attention, but patiently waits for us to notice. Some people move through the world carrying this stillness like a hidden lantern. You may have met someone like this, a person whose very presence slows the rush of your thoughts without a single word spoken. Their eyes seem to hold a deeper story, one that isn't told in sentences, but in the gentle rhythm of their being. Consider the elderly woman who sits on a park bench each morning, watching the sun break through the clouds. She isn't trying to teach a lesson or leave an impression. Yet people find themselves drawn to her side, breathing a little easier without knowing why. Her quiet gaze seems to stretch beyond time, as if she knows that every passing moment carries its own timeless light. Or think of the young man who once lived in a constant storm of ambition. Years of chasing success left him exhausted. One evening, in the hush of twilight, he paused long enough to feel the steady beat of life beneath all his striving. That single pause became a doorway. He didn't become someone else. He simply discovered what had always been waiting, a presence beyond the noise. Now, his laughter carries the softness of someone who has seen both the storm and the calm and trusts them equally. These lives are not extraordinary because of fame or grand achievement. They are extraordinary because they reveal what is possible when we allow a single thought to bloom. That one thought, an awareness of something vaster than our worries, keeps unfolding like a flower that never stops opening. Each day it reveals another petal, another layer of meaning, without ever reaching an end for those longing for long-term transformation. This is the quiet invitation to stop rushing towards some distant finish line and to rest inside the unfolding itself. True change is not a single event. It is the gentle evolution of noticing. The presence you seek is already walking beside you, a companion that never tires, never fades. All that is required is the trust to keep noticing. Again and again, there will be days when the mind feels restless and the heart impatient. You might wonder if the journey has stalled. For weeks, nothing seems to happen above ground. Yet beneath the surface, life is expanding, preparing to rise. So too does the one thought work within you, shaping an unseen foundation of peace. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast lake at night. The surface is perfectly still, reflecting the stars with such clarity it seems the sky has doubled itself. Your thoughts are like ripples, temporary, ever-changing, yet beneath them lies a depth that remains untouched. The quiet presence is this depth. It does not fight the ripples. It simply holds them, patiently waiting for you to look down and see the reflection of eternity in its waters. As you begin to trust this presence, confidence naturally grows. Not the confidence of ego or the temporary rush of achievement, but the quiet certainty that you are never truly separate from the life that breathes through all things. This is the lifelong companion, awareness itself, walking with you through every season, every change, every triumph, and every loss. Notice how even now, as you listen, a subtle calm begins to spread. It may feel like a soft warmth, or simply a spaciousness in which your next breath rests more easily. This is not imagination. It is the gentle truth of who you are. Each moment you return to this awareness, you strengthen the bridge between the world you see and the depth that holds it. Patience becomes your ally. You no longer rush to reach the end of the story because you recognize there is no end. The one thought keeps unfolding, revealing dimensions of wonder that cannot be measured. Every experience, joyful or painful, becomes another opening through which the presence reveals itself. And so, the journey continues, not as a path you must conquer, but as a mystery you are invited to explore. The lives of those who embody this quiet, multidimensional presence are reminders that transformation is not an event waiting in the future. It is a living reality, here, now, breathing with you. As you hold this awareness, feel the gentle shift in your own heart. The story of your becoming is already underway. This is only the beginning, a beginning that will continue to open, like a dawn that never stops breaking. Take this awareness with you as we move forward. The next steps will guide you gently toward the closing bridge, where all that you have heard will settle into a calm and radiant whole. The journey has only just begun.